everyone, this is Greyshot17,
And Greyshot151 here.
and today we are going over the Wehrmacht and our last tier list for all the different factions of Company of Heroes 2. 151, we got so much positive feedback from the Soviet one, right?
I mean, technically, my hot take wasn't nearly as ridiculed as I assumed it would be. But other than that, I'd say it was a lot of fair criticism in regards to the comments. Let's
Yeah, we're
see
not
what kind of criticism we get in regards to this one.
Yeah, no more hot takes from you. So, Assault Support Doctrine, let's go with a nice easy one. This one, of course, has the Tiger. You got yourself the Artillery Officer, which can call in additional strikes, which is great for Werfers, additional LEFHs in this vicinity, which I believe can be on your allied team as well, so all available fire will hit a target. You get, of course, the air support from the Strafing Run, which is really good. I'm sorry, the Loiter, which suppresses infantry, and also the Frag Bomb, which is good at killing blobs, and the Support Truck. Overall, I think this is a great overall commander that is really effective. The trucks aren't as good as they used to be, because it used to be a team support. Now it's only a single player.
God, how broken that was.
Yes. So I think, based on everything here, that it is... I would consider this one of the best S tier commanders, so I would actually put it as our first S tier to start off. But what is your thought process, 151?
I don't know about S tier. The Tiger is really good, but it's not the end all be all of of the elite Tiger. You know, the Tiger 8, you know? So I would say that this is probably an A. I will go with A, because you don't get... Yeah, I mean, you get the strike, you get the call-in. I mean, it's...
Yep. The Loiter is great for taking positions, and the plane itself seems to be a little stronger against AA fire. The Frag Bomb's always great at knocking out any sort of position. It may not kill artillery.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on this one. I'll put it in S for now, but we might double back in regards to how everything else shakes out.
Exactly, and that's what we'll do. And again, remember that we're thinking of a 4v4 aspect and a 3v3 aspect for a lot of these commanders, not really a 1v1 or 2v2, because that's totally different. How about this? You go over Blitzkrieg.
Yeah, so for Blitzkrieg, you have the command tank, you have the smoke ability for your tanks, you have a recon that gives loiter, you have tactical movement, and you have oh gosh,
Air support.
The air support. The super close air support is the anti-tank, right?
Anti-armor, yeah.
Anti-armor. Okay, good. This one probably either a low A, high B. Like, the command tank is very good when it comes to team games, and you really it's a great aura effect. I don't think it's as good as it used to be when it was buffed with like the Command Panther, but it's still very good. The smoke ability is perfect for getting away from targets. The
direct fire can still kill it.
Yeah, the worst part of this is that
munitions.
Yeah, the munitions usage for close. Yeah, but I'd say the worst part is the Stuka reconnaissance overflight, because most people just prefer the pass. Like, you just need a pass most of the time for when it comes to your allies. The tactical movement is, I'm probably gonna say, is meh. Like, your units run, okay?
Yeah. Like, well, getting back to the front could be vital. Also, remember, the Austria doesn't have a native recon. Sure, you have stuff like the Luftwaffe field officer that can deploy your recon, but like, there's no unit in the Austria's weaponry that can natively get recon from its faction units.
Yeah, you could pair this up with your Stuka close air support for like some behind the scenes shenanigans, but like, I would say low A, high B. What are your thoughts?
I think overall it has a lot of good abilities, and there's nothing bad about this. I don't think any of them are necessarily bad. I could see people using it quite well, because it is, I would say there's nothing like, the munition is so heavily like a factor in this that I would say high B for right now.
Yeah, you really want to go with like a half and half kind of situation for the austere. In fact, I've learned recently. So I would say a high B. Like the anti-armor is still very good. The smoke, I cannot undervalue how amazing that is. The command tank is also very good. So like 3 out of 5 ain't bad. 3 out of 5 ain't bad.
Yeah. All right. What about close air support?
This one, on a fun level, this got to be an S tier. Like, this is munitions. Look, are munitions supposed to be used by the Wehrmacht?
Yes.
I mean, like, yes and no. Like, this is like you want to put like all munition caches down, just have a blast.
Yeah.
Um,
But again, also remember this got nerfed a little bit because the airstrikes used to be faster. There also it used to be a system. Let's see, it wasn't dropping fuel. What was it? It was literally like trade. Wasn't it like something where you would literally press a button and you would like exchange a certain amount of fuel for munitions? Or am I? Remember
maybe.
the original
Yeah,
close air support?
I recall what you're talking about. Yeah, and I would say that the supply drop zone works best with munitions. Like fuel is still great, but like unless it's a fuel or munition that's in your like area of control, it's kind of like iffy on the depending on the map. Suppression's okay. The anti-tank strafe is good though if you can get it off, and the Stuke is always fun. I think this is a fun S, an actual probably like probably a low A, but an A.
Because AA could knock out a lot of this stuff. All of them are a strafe essential ability, so you could get out of the way easily if you're paying attention, especially with the added time since the last time we went over this. And most importantly, the anti-air could shoot down the plane before it hits target. So you have to be very aware of where those strikes are coming in. I would say E tier.
Yeah, let's go with A. Well, here, why don't you go over defensive doctrine?
Defensive doctrine has received some really good things because, again, you got the Ostrupen. You got yourself tank traps, trenches, heavier bunkers, I believe.
Yep.
You got a Stug E, which is essentially like a light assault gun, but it still can be effective. The Pak-43, always a great unit to fire through buildings to hit enemy armor. And sector artillery is destructive as hell against enemy forces.
Yeah, that's the big one. That's the like the hold the line-esque amazing kind of ability. It's not the same, but it's like an amazing ability.
Yep. Now, between the two, again, Ostrupen doctrines, because there's only two, since mobile defense no longer has Ostrupen, I would say this is very good for what its main goal is. Defensive oriented. You got the tank traps, bunkers, heavy AT, sector assault, which will drive the enemy back if they attack your lines. I'm not a big fan of the Stug, but I think Ostrupen itself can be very effective at what its goal is, which is mass infantry for a cheaper cost.
Yeah, and they're very good. Like they I think they used to be a meme, but like when used in the proper hands, they're actually pretty good.
All right, so I'm going to put this in A tier. I think that's reasonable, right?
That is exactly where I was going to recommend it.
Now, I'm going to move it, that way we can all do this at the same time, ahead of close air support.
I agree with that. Should go this, then close air support.
Yes.
This is definitely a much more reliable doctrine. Pak-43 is amazing. Defensive works, very good. Ostrupen, very good. All this is more effective bang for your buck than the previous close air support.
Yeah. Now, if we had a commander for most improved, elite troops would be it. Why?
Elite troops because you have the Jaeger light infantry upgrade. You have stormtroopers, which are amazing. Panzer tacticians for upgrading all your tanks. The stun grenades are okay. Like they're good on a pinch, but like not a glamorous thing. And while we don't have the broken ability of upgrading units veterancy like it used to, the Tiger Ace is still a fantastic tank.
But why? But you've hinted at it. Why? Because originally I placed this doctrine, I think it was this with the Tiger Ace, in D tier the last time we did this. What has changed about the Tiger Ace?
Oh, the last time we did this because it had negatives. Now it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's just all positive all the time.
Yes. The fact it doesn't cripple your fuel income is so helpful.
Yeah.
And I know it would cripple your fuel income and your manpower by like 25%, fuel 90%, if I recall correctly.
Now, here's the thing. If you're on an open map, right? Like, let's take a red ball, but you're on, like, a corner, and they have a whole bunch of Jacksons. Are you in a very bad spot if you have this? Yes. But if you're in, like, a brawly kind of situation where you can fight mano-a-mano, the Tiger Ace is going to put in work and then some. Yeah. Like, it is an absolute beast of a unit, and I would think it's like I think it alone makes this a low S. Like, the Doctrine, I think, is good. But would you disagree? I think the Tiger Ace is like probably the best tank in like that they have next to the Elephant.
Yeah, the Ost tier, I will say you're right. G43s with Panzer Grenadiers and Grenadiers are also very good, and 4v4 they're also they're very powerful. Stormtroopers can be used as AT or like stealth units behind enemy lines, and we know there's another doctrine we're going to get to in a moment that it's also really good to be tag team with. I wouldn't say it goes to S tier, because while the Tiger Ace is well, maybe a low S tier, maybe
Yeah, that's why I agree. I think it's the lowest of S tier. The Tiger Ace is very, very good, mostly in most situations you'd want it. But again, you don't have a lot of. This is a fuel intensive one where you just want to really get the fuel income up, get ranked up as fast as possible, get yourself in a good spot, so that when this can come down, you can bring it out.
Then I'll agree. The lowest of S tier.
Yes, I agree.
Now, can we just put this at the top of S tier?
What, bruh?
The next one, which is Encirclement.
Encirclement's a meme. I'll be honest. It's a meme. Like
it's a meme, but
it's very good. But like certain you can only do it on certain maps. It's very selective, and really the whole doctrine is designed to do just the one thing. Is it effective when it happens? Yes.
Oh my god, it is like
it's
that's
amazing.
The thing. It's amazing. Like getting Exodia as Yu-Gi-Oh. It is like, and the best way to describe it would be it would be like a shonen battle where you're literally like on the edge of your seat, and the guy just comes in with a sucker punch out of nowhere and just clobbers the guy like with the guy from Naruto, the happy guy. What's his name? With the green uniform.
Oh, Rock Lee.
Yes. It's like that where it's like this shouldn't be working, but
satisfying.
It's so satisfying. And it causes literally the entire enemy team to change tactics. I've seen this fail so many times, and you can, if there's anything I could see this being a criticism is the fact when it's not pulled off well, or the fact when people try to pull it off but it's so detrimental to your team, that can lead to a devastating loss, and you're like, how'd this happen? Because you focused on Encirclement rather than playing the game.
Yes, so which is why I think it deserves to be mid B, because it's very powerful, but it's also, if the enemy knows that you're trying to do it, it's also kind of easy to stop in a sense, like keeping troops on the point, putting caches down. A lot of the stuff that naturally happens in the late game are natural counters to this.
We should probably mention it has ambush training, stormtroopers, like mentioned before.
Who cares about that? The only thing you care about is close the pocket.
Yeah, close the pocket, which kills all forces that are cut off or encircled. Again, I actually, thinking about now, I'm like, you know what? You're right. I've seen this doctrine cause so many times. The person using it to be like Gollum with the ring, just be like, my precious Encirclement, and just completely whiff the game. So, based on the negative attributes it causes, I will agree with you on B tier. Now, are we putting it behind Blitzkrieg?
I would say underneath Blitzkrieg, because Blitzkrieg is like an all-round good doctrine. It's all-round good. I think Encirclement, it's very powerful, but if you're not doing it, you basically picked, like, it's relatively useless. Like, you can do small encirclements, but like,
it's the Darkhold it corrupts.
Yeah, it really does. Like, you get so laser focused on trying to do the meme, you forget about everything else. So, which is why I would put it as a B. Not because it's not good. It's just because people can overfocus, and it can lead to the detriment of the ally. And anything that causes a detriment to your team is a negative and goes down.
Yeah, that's fair. That's 100% fair. So, Festing Armor Doctrine is the next one, and that has the Panzer IV-J version, which is the upgraded Panzer IV you can get. Again, Panzer Tactician, Hull Down, which is
Pac-43
great.
And Railway Artillery.
Yeah. I've really liked more and more the Hull Down ability, because I've realized that Panthers can then go toe-to-toe with stuff like Jacksons, which...
Oh, yeah.
At distance and range, because, again, power, so...
Pac-43 is also amazing. The Railway Artillery is a good... use your munitions, FU. So overall, I would say this is like mid-A, between air support and the defensive doctrine. I think it's not as good as that one, but it's like it's still good. It's very, very good when it's used.
Yes. I will agree with you on that. I will place it in between.
If it had elite infantry, I would, or like an infantry upgrade, I would give it a higher remarks, but as of right now, I can't.
That's fair. Because again, I could see someone being like, well, I have the Pac-43, or I can hold down a Panther. Typically, I mean, like, maybe your idea is maybe hold down a Panzer IV.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I feel like maybe the Pac 43 and the Panther kind of are a little too close for like the what you're trying to do, but I still think it's A tier is a good spot for it. So far we haven't got any C's or D's, but I see on the list we have a couple coming up which might fit that doctrine. All right,
Yeah.
which festing support doctrine, which has the command tank, mortar half track, always good. Plus it has fire ability to neutralize fortifications. The amazing forward supply station, because not only does it heal, you can't retreat to it, but it heals armor for the cost. The relief infantry, which always I feel like it's like, well, I know you're going to lose a bunch of guys, but I'm always iffy about like, okay, hopefully I lose men so I get fresh recruits.
It's kind of a negative. It's like trying to turn negative into a positive, but it's very hard to balance.
Yeah.
You do get upgraded Ostrupin with it though, which is good.
Yeah. Okay, so out of the bunch, 151, where would you place this?
I mean, you can't go wrong with most things that you want. It has the armored mortar, the command tank, the vehicle repair and sector assault. Like everything's there for it to be good. It's just I don't think this is used that often because mainly the relief is kind of so bad. It's why use it. So I would say everything points to this being very good. I think this should be like the lowest of A because I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with this. I think, and the sector assault, command tank, I think everything here is very good. It's just not it's like, I'd say lowest of A or mid B. Or like somewhere in that range. What are your thoughts? Maybe you can help me.
Well, remember, again, my thought process as well is like, compare this to other doctrines. So if we're comparing this to the closest one, which would be joint operations, because I'm thinking of the forward supply station, I'm thinking that one might be better for its overall purpose. This one kind of seems more generalized. The mortar half track's fine, but I think we're gonna get to another mortar half track, which I feel is better. Okay. So then we go to the command tank. That's in a lot of doctrines, which we'll get to.
Yeah, you're right in that regard. Maybe I value the command tank a little too much and sector assault artillery a little too much. This is the only other one with sector artillery, by the way. That's why.
Yes. I'm not saying that's bad. I think a high B might be beneficial for this.
Yeah. You convinced me. Yeah. The highest B of B.
A highest of B.
Okay.
You know what? Actually, thinking about this,
what?
Should we move Encirclement down the C?
No. Encirclement.
No. Okay.
It is effective. It is effective.
I'm just thinking about all the times I've watched replays of people try to use Encirclement and it just completely backfires.
It does. But when it happens, it's still game winning. Like it is one of the only abilities. When it happens, it's just great.
Okay. Then let's get to Fortified Armor Doctrine.
So why don't we just put this right into S? I think this is very easy. Mid S at the moment, maybe even highest of S actually.
So you prefer this one over the other one?
Well, here's why. You have the command tank and you have hull down. Like, spotting scope is great, but hull down basically means, hey, I can put a tank here. My elephant is, like, safely snug behind this. Or you could be the crazy man and put your tank or your elephant hull down as well and watch the enemy just cry trying to kill it. I'm thinking of a map like Red Ball, where if they even dare go down your lane, they're just screwed. So, you also have the reconnaissance, which is good. You have the command tank, which gives another defensive bonus, which the defensive bonus for the elephant is great. So if you haul down the command tank maybe and then just have the elephant, it's...
The defensive nature that you can make your elephant in terms of protection is so great that it would be hard for even a direct strike to necessarily hurt it.
Like, I'm not saying that you can't... that the other one doesn't have its merits. I think the other one is still an S tier as well. I just think this one's better because you have you also have smoke for your tanks to get out of there. You have like more abilities to help your team, whereas the other one, I think there's less of that. Therefore, it goes a little bit lower.
That's fair. Okay, that's 100% fair. Okay, so if we're keeping this in S tier, are we putting it in middle of S tier or the highest?
I think highest of S tier, easily.
Okay.
Highest.
And it does have. Okay. So again,
I
I
mean, is
could
there
see this.
anything that beats this in your regard? Like, of the
Um,
two that we have? Because right now,
well,
it doesn't beat the Tiger. Assault Support Doctrine is currently our ace, and no way I would pick this over that.
well,
The
uh,
Elephant. The Elephant.
yeah, the elephant's pretty solid. I
Elephant is the
mean,
best heavy tank the Wehrmacht have. Easily. There is no question.
yeah. And even though this doesn't get the spawning scope, you can essentially use other units for spawning abilities. Um,
Again, I'm not. Again, here's the caveat, right? Do you
yeah.
help your teammates more, or do you help your elephant more? I vote helping teammates is always better.
Yeah. Well, okay, so if we're helping teammates then, right?
Yeah.
With the fortification, are we moving this one down? Like, for example, if the other one is giving free recon because of flares from the half track, and still has recon normally, and has spawning scope to help your team, if we're thinking about this in a 3v3, 4v4 aspect, should we move this down because it's very solely focused on you rather than your team?
Wait, we're talking about fortified armor?
Yes. So fortified armor has the elephant, right, with hull down and also the command tank, which is very good for that. But are we saying that instead of, let's say, the command tank, would you prefer spotting scope and the recon abilities of Jaeger armor doctrine? Is what I'm saying is like, which one would we level out more?
I value the command tank. I really do.
Okay,
Maybe
that's fair.
maybe that's me in regards to maybe that's a bad choice, but
All right,
uh,
no, that's fair. That's 100% fair. So we'll leave it at the top of S tier for right now.
yeah,
And we'll then move over to the infantry doctrine, which maybe this is just me,
yeah.
but with recent kind of like nerfs to it, I have found this to be less appealing.
I mean, yeah, uh, yeah.
I
Everything
mean,
that this has, it's very munition heavy, which is not what you want to have for the Wehrmacht.
yes, and while it boosts grenadiers and other things with bonuses, I find that because of recent nerfs to it, it's not as prevalent as it used to be in 4v4. Because it used to be, unless I'm mistaken, it used to be a good counter for the Wehrmacht to go toe-to-toe with the British infantry section when they get upgraded.
Yeah,
But
now it's
because of
unneeded.
changes, grenadiers are just as good with G43s or in cover or whatever. Just use other stuff to negate that aspect, or against riflemen with bars, rather than to go to this doctrine. It is nice you get a half track. That's cool.
Yeah.
That kind of is only applicable early game, and then you get a frag bomb. But I think that other strategic strikes are better.
Yeah, this is definitely an early to mid game kind of doctrine. Like the frag bomb is kind of a okay, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is bad. It's not. I just think it's kind of average. You know? Do we want
So
to put
should we
this
put
maybe
this in
C?
C tier?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking C, because it's just kind of like your average Wehrmacht doctrine.
Yeah. No, that's where I put it, and it sucks because if you want to help your team, I could see it, but again, because the overall impact has been nerfed for the thing that makes it stand out, and because the other abilities in this doctrine are better elsewhere, yeah, lowering it to C tier I think is fine.
Next one,
Um,
we have German Mechanized. And for
okay.
this one, we have the first round of LEFH artillery.
Yes.
I think this is kind of a hodgepodge kind of doctrine. Like, you have
Yeah.
better units with the command tank, better half tracks, better vehicle repair. I mean, maybe not better vehicle repairs. I think this is the only
That's
one
the
with
only doctrine with vehicle repair.
Okay, never mind. Ignore that last caveat. But for the spotting scope and the LEFH, there are other doctrines you can use, right? No,
I mean,
no, this is the only one.
well, remember, again, you have stuff like Storm Doctrine, which has the LEFH. You have joint operations with the LEFH.
Oh, okay. It's just in different.
Yeah.
I was looking at it, I was like, wait, is this the only one? No.
Because this one has solely more focused on stuff earlier on that you can get, like the half track, like the spotting scope. But again, I find this weird.
I don't
because,
think they mix, right? You want a command tank.
Yeah.
You want to be able to guard something big. The spotting scope, you want something that's big. You don't have those options unless you're like helping another Wehrmacht out. I don't think this is I think you have better artillery. I think you have better reasons to choose spotting scopes for other doctrines. I think the command
Yeah.
tank, there's better doctrines. So overall, I think this is a commander relegated to bottom of C because it's just a dupe of everything else. At least the other one had originality. At least
Yeah.
German infantry doctrine. At least it has like a focus and they kind of mesh together.
Yeah, and for this one, I find it where the vehicle crew repair is nice, but like I'm trying to compare this to the German, the OKW variant, where you had that repair, but it also comes with heat rounds, a Sturm Tiger,
Yeah.
like the 221, eventually a 223. Like there's all that stuff that helps propel that doctrine to S tier, and this one, to me, especially because again, also to add input, the LFH has been changed significantly since the last time we've covered it. It not necessarily detrimental. It's just it has more high air burst shells, more of a general area.
It also doesn't have counter barrage, which was the I don't have to target, I don't have to do anything unit. I just build it and it automatically works by itself, which is not how CoH2 should work. You should have to like manually choose things. Like
Yeah.
you should, any unit that is so that powerful that you kind of just put on the back burner, I think is like counterproductive. So
Yeah.
after the nerf, now that people actually have to move it, it's not as good.
Yeah, I'm more mixed on that because again I don't mind some units having a general fire ability, but you are right, on that scale it was so destructive that it fundamentally changed the game. So without it there, it has made the game in the long term a good choice to have, especially with the decrease in overall direct strikes that is now given to a lot of these factions.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's fine. I think C tier, low tier is fine. Jaeger armor doctrine, I'm questioning where to put that because I think you would agree S tier is a good place to put.
Yes, I still agree. This deserves to be S tier. I'm not saying it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I
Now,
would say
the breakthrough equipment gives again the Panzergrenadier smoke grenades and the Pioneer the ability to use high explosive satchel charges to break through enemy defenses. And then of course the half track then becomes invisible and can deploy flares, which is very good.
yeah.
I think there's some solid stuff here, but
Rotoscope is also damn good for the elephant. Yeah.
Well, no, it doesn't go for the elephant. You can't put it.
Oh
on
no,
there.
no, you put it for a Stug, right.
Yes, or
Yeah,
a 222 or something else to support, or even Panzer 4 if you're that desperate. But I think that this can benefit your team. Now the question is, do we think it? Now I think this could benefit the team more because while the command tank is nice for a 10% bonus around for all units, I think sight is so important for a team. And having
the mobile
unkillable
recon is like okay, you convince me. We'll put this at the top of S, but the other one is second. Agreed?
right behind. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, that I would agree with. Now, in regards to a doctrine without the elephant that I think is actually very good, Jaeger infantry doctrine. Obviously, you have the Jaeger command squads. You have Jaeger light infantry upgrades for said squads. You have ambush training, decent. Light artillery barrage, I'd say it's a nice little attack when you want to hit allied armor or like an allied retreat point. And the Stuka anti-tank strafe with is always good. I don't think anyone will argue against that.
No, and it is a strafe, not a loiter. I want to be very clear with that.
Yeah, and again, you can upgrade. You can upgrade more with those rifles. So I think this is much more you want to focus on your infantry and get them the best to your ability. I think in this situation, if these are the units I'm thinking of, this is a great doctrine, especially against the British.
Remember, the Jaeger command squad gets the Faust and the rifle grenade, where the other JLIs do not. So you can only deploy one Jaeger squad in this case, while camouflaged is just one. And you can also camouflage the rest of your men. You don't get a bunch of JLIs in this doctrine.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I want to point that out because some people might say why you're referencing it as a JLI when it's a command squad. So.
Okay, touche. I was thinking of the command squad. Yeah, I know you're right. This is the command. Overall, good infantry, good tank. The only thing you are lacking is like the tank upgrade. So I think this is a fine doctrine.
Okay. Now again, it's still very beneficial for infantry. Still beneficial for taking enemy forces. You don't necessarily get a recon.
No.
Camouflage is great on defense, but maybe not as great offensively.
Yeah.
G43s though will help you out. Light artillery barrage is good for killing infantry and light defenses, and the strafe's good for killing allied armor. I think it's strong. I think a strong B tier is a good place to put it.
I can agree with. I either say bottom of A or top of B. What are your thoughts?
Top of B, I think, is a good place to put it.
Top of B? Okay.
Yeah, it's right at the edge, but I think that maybe it's just not like, in my opinion, it just doesn't have that extra spark.
Does that extra
fire,
especially with the slowdown of the strafe. I think that really is a hamper on it. All right, so let's head over to joint operations. What are your thoughts on this one?
I really like the artillery field officer, and I think it's one of the most OP things in the game. So immediately at A tier is where I would place this.
Yeah.
Recon's always good, again, but the house is where I think that this is really shines, because, again, you can heal everything around for your team. The artillery and Pack 43 are a great combo to have. The artillery, of course, especially combined with the artillery field officer, among any other arty thing you have in the area, will essentially stop players from trying to take over a key piece of territory for a decent amount of time. And again, that's free. It's a free artillery blast, so you don't have to worry about recharging for that artillery piece, since if it's in the vicinity and can be fired and not automatically firing, it can shoot. So I think A tier is where I'd place this.
Would you say mid A or bottom of A?
I would say mid A.
So in front of close air support, you think?
So in front of close air support. Now, do you think it's better than Festing Armor Doctrine? That's the Pack 43 hull down, Panzer IV upgrade, and railway artillery.
I do think it's better.
Okay, then I think that's where we'll place it.
Yeah, the artillery officer is really what sells it for that one.
Yeah, because direct strike could be a big crippling blow to this. The other doctrine has a Pack 43, but I think Osttruppen, the tank upgrades, and sector artillery is more defined. They're better overall, can really help your team.
Yeah, I think that right in front of it would be the next one, which is the Lightning War doctrine. You get a heavy tank, you get the JLI upgrade. Well, you also get like tactical movement and relief infantry. Like, okay, I would say that those are good. If you're suffering losses or need to move stuff, very expensive. Yeah. But the fact that you can upgrade your infantry, you get a good tank, and you also have a good call-in is the three requirements for like going into A or S. And I think this is a good thing to add to. Again, I think it's right in front of the last one we just talked about. So in front of the Joint Operations Doctrine.
So we're saying this is worse than the Osttruppen Doctrine.
I think this is... is it? Right.
No, this is the Osttruppen, yeah. So that's what I mean. Like, again, it's hard to play some of these, but I think the Osttruppen has more things that are better overall for your team.
Whereas is basically a big tank. It's basically just a hidden tank for cheaper. And the sector artillery, I think, is better than the close air support Collins. So
then let's put it right behind the Osttruppen.
Okay.
Someone's gonna be Osttruppen better than a Tiger? No, it's just that commander has better stuff overall than this. The relief infantry is what I feel like keeps it down.
Wait, well, speaking of something amazing, go into this one, the bombing strike doctrine.
So the Luftwaffe field officer is also really good because it drops a smoke bomb. You get a recon for 50. I believe it has like an ability which allows it to take more fire. So also you get a supply drop, an excellent ability for giving a pack gun in MG. I think it's a 34 variant though for 375 manpower. Still pretty good cost for two pieces of equipment.
Yeah, it's like that American howitzer drop. It's a good for efficiency. You lose a bit of fuel, but at this point you're probably having a ton. You have a ton of it at the moment.
Which again, if we're talking about a team dynamic, you can give your allies weapons.
Yes, which is very helpful. It's like the airborne for the Dishka. Very powerful to give to your allies.
Or the American airborne. Very true. Incendiary bombing run and the heavy bombing run are both great for very different reasons. Incendiary because you get it earlier on, and instead of a suppression strafe, this is fire that will burn everything in its way. And the heavy bombing run is so powerful it kills tanks.
So kind of good.
Yeah, and fire drops fire too. So if I had to be honest, I would probably push this up to S tier.
Yeah, the heavy bombing is so damn powerful that it kind of carries this everything. It literally lifts, it does an airlift and brings this. The firebombs are also very good. Don't underestimate the firebombs. The firebombs can like lock off an area pretty effectively.
I think this is probably fourth best.
Yeah, easily the bottom. But like, because the one thing you lack is like it's very munition intensive, which for the Wehrmacht you're more fuel oriented. So we value tanks more than fuel, but this is such a good call-in that it kind of it deserves to be an S.
Yeah. And so again, I put this as, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 down the list. It's the only one. It's the Tiger Ace, I believe, is 5th on my list.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So next up, we have our. Oh boy, this doctrine. Mechanized assault doctrine. Go.
Mechanized assault doctrine overall kind of. I mean, it's very good early on. You have assault grens, which are good, especially in like Liam Forest. In the forest, you have mechanized assault group, so you can, you call in and you just Shrek people, you just run them down with men, or get behind an MG and gun them down, which is again good for the forest, or just an open. I'm trying to think like a red ball on the flanks. You can flank around, or just chase the enemy units down. You get the Stoogie assault, good. I think I'd rather get like an Ostwind, but I've seen this be used, and it's not a Brumbar, but it's a thing. Light assault barrage, good calling, kind of cheap.
Yeah.
It's not crazy, but it does what it needs to. And the Tiger's always good. You can't argue with the Tiger for late game potential. So everything here is good, and everything in here like doesn't necessarily counter. The only thing I wish is I could change the Stug. But other than that, I think this is a high B, low A.
Yeah.
Maybe a mid A.
I think this is the highest B, and because two things. A couple things. Assault Grenadiers are great, but they suck against enemy vehicles because they have no AT. The Stug is a good light assault tank, but I think the Tiger, if we're going in the same vein, is probably a better anti-infantry unit.
Yeah, it's something you can call in earlier, but it's just get a Stug.
Yeah, and then also the Panzer Grenadier combo. While I have a replay I just put up that has units going into half track, chasing stuff down and firing Shreks. This is that weird one where you get Panzer Grenadiers with the half track in one sunk cost, like one purchase, and then with that purchase, right? You probably need multiple to pull off like that meme, which is why I have a tendency not to do it. And then also the problem with this one is the fact that the Panzer Grenadier itself. It's like, are you making sure you go down that Trek tier? Because otherwise you have another close range unit, which fulfills a similar role to the Assault Grenadier, but the Assault Grenadier does it better. So, and also the Panzer Grenadier gets a speed boost next to armor, so they can run next to armor at a good clip. So, I again, this is one of those things where I'm like, I'm seeing a lot of things bringing this down for me. Whereas the, let's say, Strategic Reserve Doctrine does better.
Yeah, it has something to help it in like also in like wide open maps. I'm thinking like north of steppes, with the Assault Grens not being the best there. But I mean, you have the half track, which is good early to mid game with that, the idea in mind, like a kind of map style. So it's not completely useless in like those open maps, but it does have its limited window of use.
Yeah.
So
also, and then Tiger. There's again, if we're adding this up. Are there other doctrines that use artillery better? Yes. Are there other doctrines that use Tigers better? Yes. Is there other doctrines that use Assault Grenadiers better? Yes. So, I would put this high C tier, honestly.
Okay. I would say low of B. The bottom of B.
Okay, we'll do low of B.
So now into something that I think you and I would agree is complete and utter trash. Mobile defense doctrine. Like,
yes.
Counterattacks, you capture points quickly. Okay, cool. Maybe very helpful when you're like a few points down. And with this doctrine, you'll understand why you'd be like 10 in 500. Command tank. There's so many doctrines with command tanks. Moving on. Puma. Great in a meta maybe where there's a lot of early game allied armor. That's not the case. Panzer Tactician. Okay, good. Mobile observation post. Okay, so you can now see the front line. Anything else to use that? Nope.
I mean,
it's a very mid-tier doctrine, and you either want something that can last in late game, right, or come online early. This is
Yeah.
trying to be some kind of weird amalgamation of armor, and it just doesn't work.
It doesn't.
There's no rhyme or reason to a lot of this.
Hey,
Like,
question.
yeah.
Does the Puma get a smoke ability?
Yeah, oh! That's a good question.
It does. I mean, like, the OKW variant, like, if you get a Puma.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the OKW, if there was no Puma, the OKW would make this... I mean, this might be worthwhile for the Puma, but again... OKW has access to it, and they don't even pick the Puma half the time. Like, why would you want it?
I could see this being a doctrine if you get Ostrupen. It gets more valuable if you give it Ostrupen, and you give them, like, the raid ability, right? Or something. Like, I don't know. You like I know, or maybe you give it Assault Grenadier. Something. Anything.
Screw the mobile observation point. Add Close the Pocket, and this actually becomes somewhat worthwhile with the quickly capturing of points and the Puma being
it's mobile defense, not offensive. So maybe sector assault would be.
Who cares about the theme? I just want I want this thing to be good. And right now it's D. It's an easy D.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So Ostrupen doctrine. While speaking of Ostrupen, which by the way has Ostrupen, the trench, which I feel like the artillery field officer, which is still good. The dropping of the supplies, which is good, and the railway artillery, which is pretty good for killing targets in a very specific area.
I want to say, like, nothing here is bad. And the other Ostrupen is better. What do you think? Low of B, high of C? Railway's good.
Again, I'm thinking of teamwork. The artillery field officer is good for coordination in terms of everyone's artillery in use, and then the MG and AT gun could be good for allied support, and Ostrupen themselves are good. Honestly, I would probably put it above. Trying to think of where I'd put this. Maybe I would put this right above or right below. How about Festing Support Doctrine? Is that fine with you? That's the one with the red scarf.
Yeah, I will second that. I don't think this is not trash, but there's other doctrines that do things slightly better. It's not refined as well as the other ones, but it still has good stuff, so you can't knock it.
Okay. What about Spearhead Doctrine? This comes with the smoke ability. This comes with a mortar half-track, recon, fragmentation bomb, and the Tiger. Again, there's plenty of Tiger doctrines, each with their own stuff.
We even have the mortar half-track. This is like your bog standard Wehrmacht doctrine, really. You know what I mean? Like, you have your smoke, you have your half-track, your call-in, your recon. This is very just standard. I think this is better in a 1v1 or 2v2, because you get all your bases covered. In a 4v4 setting, you're not doing too many things. I still think it's good, don't get me wrong, but nothing screams out, ooh, I want to pick this over other doctrines.
Especially because the first doctrine went over today, Assault Support Doctrine, is better, in my opinion, than this one, because the artillery field officer makes up for the mortar half-track.
Yep.
And again, you both get Tigers, both get fragmentation bombs. You get the smoke ability, which, I mean, that's fine, but I'd rather get more supplies. You get recon, which I guess is a positive. But
recon is so overdone. Is like a lot of doctrines have recon. So
especially in a 4v4, other people could have recon for free, part of their doctrine if you go KW. So I would put this maybe. I mean, a lot of these things are still good, maybe upper towards a B. But what do you think?
I think B, just maybe the lower spectrum of B.
Do we want to put it maybe behind the Austrian doctrine we just mentioned?
Yeah.
Or do we want to put it? Yeah.
Okay. No. Let's put it a little bit lower in B. I think a little bit lower.
Ahead of Encirclement?
No, I think Encirclement should be ahead of that one. This one's kind of
okay.
I think let's put it behind Encirclement.
Okay, it's behind Encirclement.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, it's not trash. It's just things do it better.
It's not trash, but it's trash-ish. Anyway, it's like it's meh. Meh is a good example of it.
Yeah.
But it's still like if you go it, and that's why a lot of these doctrines are B tier, which I think are slightly better, is because a lot of these doctrines can be used, and I'm trying to say this as like a value scale as well in a 3v3, 4v4, because we're not trying to be like the average, because obviously C tier in my mind is just your bog standard. Like, this is a more blasé sort of doctrine.
Completely agree with you. I think B is still good. C is just kind of, it's kind of average. It's not like, it's not doing anything for you. I think the one thing I want to keep in mind with the Wehrmacht is you are fuel oriented and you are very reactionary in regards to a lot of the stuff you're building. And I don't think a doctrine that isn't specialized, like trying to do all purpose, really doesn't help a Wehrmacht player. You really want to be good at one thing and really good at that to beat the allies, right? And I don't think that these doctrines in B necessarily have that. I think Encirclement's the only thing that, like, it hyper focuses, but it may be too much, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't think any of these are like focused enough. Or in the case of the D tier, too focused, for it to be in that S tier, you know?
Yeah. So next up, we have the only direct strike
Storm
doctrine. Yeah, which has again, you have the Stuka bomb. You have LEFH artillery, smoke bombs, which no longer do recon. Just pointing out there.
Yeah.
The air command squad and the ambush.
I think if this was with smoke, this would be S. But without it, I think it's just an A tier. Or would you say S tier, bottom of it? Or would you say S tier?
No, I mean, I could see this being good. I find it weird the smoke bomb is 4. Unless it is recon, isn't it? And I'm just forgetting.
Large
no,
snow spots are dropped. No, wait, no. It's the Stuka icon, so no recon.
Oh.
It is 40 munitions, though.
It is weird how it's 4. I thought isn't the OKW one 2?
Maybe. I mean, in this situation, though, it can't be blocked, which I guess why it's more expensive. Like, you can't get AA to stop it.
Okay. Yeah,
I think it's because the other one can be shot down. So theoretically, right, it's cheaper, but it carries a risk. This one's more expensive because it's unblockable.
If that's okay, I'm iffy on this one. I wouldn't put this in S tier. It is a good Stuka bomb, don't get me wrong, and the LFH is good. The artillery, the Jaeger command squad's good in that. But if I'm thinking about the smoke bombs, right? Yeah. I'm thinking of other doctrines that use it either cheaper or it's part of a unit. It's still good, but I think that it brings it down slightly for me because it is later at 4 command points. So I would probably say that this is probably right behind the Luftwaffe supply doctrine, or sorry, not close air support, I should say.
The bottom of A?
The bottom of A, yeah. Because what would you rather have, this or close air support?
I mean, this has the good infantry, though. Upgrades.
So, how about one above it?
Yeah, I can compromise on that end. I will compromise with, like, mid B. I think this is a high A, but I will compromise to mid A.
All right, yeah, so how about this? Instead, we'll go one more to the left of it, so it's in 4th spot from the right. So if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, there it is.
Perfect.
So okay. So yeah, it's right under the other one. It's funny because it's right under the Luftwaffe bombing one on mine. Okay, so last but not least, let's talk about strategic reserve, which has. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say you have some good stuff in here.
Yeah, you get the Assault Grenadiers, the Panzer IV upgrade version, the Tiger, Recon, and of course the breakthrough equipment with the Panzer Grenadiers and the Pioneer upgrades. I think this is a very good doctrine. I don't think it's S tier. I think this is a better one with Assault Grenadiers, and I think it's a better overall commander. I would probably give it somewhere in A tier. The question is where. I think this might be overall, like, the Tiger Ace is a very good unit, right?
Yeah, the Tiger Ace carries this. The Assault Grens are good. The Panzer IV upgrade is good. It's, I would say, maybe a 1 above close air support.
1 above close. Wow, that feels low. But I mean, the Assault Grenadiers I could see, even though they got the upgrade, I don't know. I don't find them as prevalent in the late game.
Yeah, they're not.
But they still can be very good. But yeah, and again, Panzer IV and Tiger, you could theoretically. Well, no, it kind of fits with the T-3045 you know, Tiger Ace. I mean, for T-3045 to IS-2 to the Panzer IV upgrade to the Tiger Ace. Although Tiger Ace is slightly better, in my opinion, than the IS-2. So, all right, can you maybe move it one more to the left? How about that?
I can do 2. Yep. So it's third from last.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to put it.
I would agree with that.
All right, that is all of them. Oh my god, we got through it.
Yeah.
We got through all of them. Yes!
I'll be honest, I needed a cheat sheet because, God, there's so many. And
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's so many things with, like, so many minute details and so many, like, little changes.
Yeah.
But we got through it. We're done.
And again, if you guys feel like, oh, Greyshot, your mid-tier is not average, then, again, typically we could do S because, of course, but you could do A, B, C, D, F. And it would be roughly the same. That's fine.
I would argue that in this situation, the Wehrmacht just throws a lot of good doctrines. Like, just because we don't, like, there's clearly bad doctrines. We showcased it. It's just in this situation, a lot of them aren't necessarily bad. It's just sometimes you want to pick something different.
Yeah. And that's the thing. A lot of doctrines have different purposes, so it's hard to, like, compare them, especially with so many, so easily. But I feel like, in general, like, if you go with any of the 12 in the top that we've mentioned, you're probably in a good spot. In some of these, like, I feel like Encirclements probably might be the most divisive, but I've seen so many times that doctrine lead people to ruin, including myself in replays and such, that I could see it being a more hindrance to the team in some aspects than a positive.
So, yeah, I would completely agree with that. I agree with you there.
All right. So that's going to be it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you like this video, please subscribe. I mean, if you've gotten this far, please. Anyway, thank you, 151, for joining me through a lot of these.
Of course, anytime.
We might do another series with CoH2, but for right now, we got some other tier lists coming on up, which you all might enjoy. That's still Company for Us 2 related, but may not be with the factions. But we'll get to that in the next week. But thank you all so much. It's been Greyshot and
151.
And we'll see all of you guys next time.
Until then, catch you all later.
Hello, guys. Before you go, let me give a special shout out to Patreon supporters Joey G240, Milam, Folkvard, Aphyria, Ace, Pyroshark, Tony B, Epic Pleb, ShinobiWarrior, and Sir Marvell. Thank you all for your incredible support and helping this channel grow. This has been Greyshot and his amazing patrons, and I'll see all of you next time.